Hi guys, day 12 of shadowing technique. The episode today is Be You, Do You, and For You. Let's get started.
When you're not of sleep, but because Hey there, it's
Hey
Jenny.
there, it's Jenny.
I'm really glad you're
really
here.
glad you're here.
Can I ask
Can
you
I ask
something?
something?
Have you ever felt
Have you ever
tired?
felt tired?
Not because of
Not
work
because
or
of
lack of
work
sleep,
or lack of sleep,
but because you've been
but
trying
because you
too hard
have
to be
been
someone
trying
you're
too
not.
hard to be someone
Maybe
you're
you
not.
smiled when you didn't feel like
You didn't
smiling.
feel like
Maybe you said
smiling.
yes when your
Maybe
heart
say
said
yes when
no.
her said
Maybe
no.
you tried to look
Maybe
confident,
you
even when
tried
your
to make
hands were
confident,
shaking.
even your hand is
That
shaking.
quiet exhaustion, that invisible pressure.
And that
We don't talk about it, that quiet exhaustion, that invisible pressure. We don't talk about it enough, but it's real, and it can slowly wear you down, like a soft wind that never stops. Sometimes we think we have to perform to be accepted, to fit in, to be enough. But here's something gentle and true. You were never meant to be a copy of someone else. You were always meant to be you. There's something very peaceful about people who are just always meant to be you. There's something very peaceful about people who are just themselves. They're not trying too hard. They're not competing. They're not pretending. They walk into a room and bring this soft kind of strength. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. But that kind of peace doesn't come from nowhere. It usually grows from struggle, years of trying to be everything for everyone, until one day you finally realize it's too heavy, and you put it down. Have you ever reached that point? Maybe not fully, but maybe you felt moments of it. Moments when you stopped overthinking how you looked or what people moments of it. Moments when you stopped overthinking how you looked or what people thought. Moments when you laughed your real laugh. Moments when you wore what you liked, even if no one else understood. That's the beginning of being you, and it's powerful. We often think that being ourselves means being perfect, but actually it's the opposite. It means being okay with your awkwardness.
Being okay with your awkwardness.
It means being honest about your fears. It means allowing your weird little habits to exist without shame. Being you doesn't mean being impressive. It means being whole. And wholeness includes softness, mistakes, silence, change. You don't have to be exciting all the time. You don't have to explain everything. Maybe your quiet nature is not a weakness. Maybe it's your wisdom. Maybe your slow pace is not a problem. Maybe it's your rhythm. When you start being yourself, something shifts. You notice who makes you feel safe and who drains your energy. You stop chasing attention. You stop comparing your timeline to everyone else's. Instead of trying to prove your worth, you begin to feel it. Little by little, your mind becomes quieter, your body feels lighter, and your heart, it starts to trust you again. It's not always easy, I know. Sometimes the world pushes you to act a certain way. Sometimes people expect you to smile, even when you're hurting. But just because sometimes people expect you to smile, even when you're hurting. But just because something is expected doesn't mean it's right. And just because something is hard doesn't mean it's wrong. You have the right to take off the mask. You have the right to speak softly. Mean it's wrong. You have the right to take off the mask. You have the right to speak softly or boldly or not at all. You have the right to exist, not to perform. So if you've been holding your breath, if you've been hiding who you are, maybe this is your moment to come home to yourself. Breathe. You don't have to be anyone else. Just be you. You are already enough. Have you ever noticed how often we say sorry when we're not actually doing anything wrong? Sorry, I'm being emotional. Sorry, I'm anything wrong. Sorry, I'm being emotional. Sorry, I need more time. Sorry, I don't really enjoy that. We don't always mean sorry, of course. Sometimes we're just trying to keep the peace. Sometimes we're afraid of being misunderstood. But slowly, quietly, all those little apologies start to send a message, not just to others, but to ourselves. And that message is, who I am is too much, or not enough. If you've ever felt that way, like your personality needs adjusting, like your real opinions are a little too intense, or your needs, like your real opinions are a little too intense, or your needs are somehow inconvenient, I want you to know something. You are not a problem to fix. The way you feel, the way you think, your preferences, your dreams, your quietness, or your fire. They're not flaws. They're the shape of your soul. Maybe you grew up in a home where being good meant being quiet, or in a culture where harmony was more important than honesty. Being quiet. Or in a culture where harmony was more important than honesty. Or maybe you learned, through heartbreak or rejection, that it's safer to shrink. So now, even when someone says something that hurts, you smile politely. Even when your boundaries are crossed, you hesitate to speak. Even when your heart says this isn't right, your mouth says, it's okay. And that hurts. Because every time you stay silent just to keep others comfortable, you make yourself a little less seen, a little less whole. I remember a time in my 20s when I was working in a very formal office. There was this unspoken rule that being professional working in a very formal office. There was this unspoken rule that being professional meant formal office. There was this unspoken rule that being professional working in a very formal office. There was this unspoken rule that being professional meant being distant. So I hid a lot of my natural warmth. I didn't decorate my desk. I didn't talk about my weekends. I said yes when I wanted to say, I'm overwhelmed. And after a while, I started feeling invisible, even to myself. But one day, I brought a plant into the office, just a small one. And someone said, oh wow, your desk feels so alive now. That tiny moment reminded me I was allowed to bring life into the room. I didn't have to erase myself to be respected. Maybe you need that reminder too. You don't have to apologize for being quiet. You don't have to apologize for being loud. You don't have to apologize for your sensitivity, your directness, your dreams that don't make sense to anyone else. You are not wrong for wanting more, or for needing rest, or for walking away from what doesn't feel like home. And if someone ever made you feel like your softness is what doesn't feel like home, and if someone ever made you feel like your softness is what doesn't feel like home, and if someone ever made you feel like your softness is weakness, remember this. Water is soft, but it shapes mountains. Your kindness doesn't make you weak. It makes you deep. And your truth, even when it shakes a little, is still powerful. So maybe the next time you're about to say sorry, pause and ask yourself, am I actually doing something wrong, or am I just being us? And ask yourself, am I actually doing something wrong, or am I just being myself? If it's the second one, then maybe you can say nothing, or say thank you, or simply smile and keep being real, because you don't owe anyone a smaller version of you. Let yourself take up space. Let yourself speak. Pause. Be quiet. Grow. Fall apart. Rebuild. You are not here to constantly explain your existence. You are here to live it. Sometimes, the moment you start doing things for yourself, choosing what you enjoy, saying no, protecting your peace, people might say you've changed. And honestly, they're right. You have changed. You're learning to honor yourself. And that's not selfish. That's self-respect. But let's be real. This isn't easy. Because many of us were raised to believe that putting ourselves first. This isn't easy. Because many of us were raised to believe that putting ourselves first is wrong. We were taught that being a good person means being available, agreeable, and always giving. But no one taught us this. That you can be kind and have boundaries. That you can be loving and say, no, not today. That you can care deeply and still choose your own path. Doing you isn't about pushing people away. It's about not pushing yourself away. Imagine a garden. If you give all your water and sunshine to the plants around you, but never tend to your own roots, you start to dry out. At first, no one notices. You're still smiling, still showing up. But inside, there's less and less of you left. And then one day, you realize you can't pour from an empty cup. So you stop, you breathe, you return to yourself. That moment, that pause, that's what doing you looks like. Doing you might look like turning off your phone earlier, or not answering messages right away. It might look like dancing alone in your kitchen or walking slowly away. It might look like dancing alone in your kitchen or walking slowly when everyone else is rushing. It might mean choosing a career that feels unusual, or spending weekends in quiet instead of noise. It might look like resting more, even when others keep chasing. Whatever it is, it's yours, and that matters. There's this quiet magic that happens when you start living from your center. You stop trying to impress people who were never really watching. You stop chasing friendships that only existed when you were useful. You stop comparing your life to timelines that don't belong to you. And slowly, gently, you begin to trust your own rhythm. You start to wake up and think, what would feel good for me today? Not selfish, not dramatic, just real. And the beautiful part is, when you live like that, you don't just help yourself, you free others to do the same. People can feel it when you're authentic. It creates space. When you choose rest, others feel permission to slow down. When you choose rest, others feel permission to slow down. When you say, I don't know, it gives others permission to be human. When you live true to your values, it gives others permission to be human. When you live true to your values, it gives others permission to question theirs. You don't have to change the world loudly. Sometimes you change it just by being real in a world that's obsessed with pretending. So if you've been holding back, waiting for someone to approve your path, this is your reminder. You're allowed to choose yourself. Not because you're more important than everyone else, but because you matter just as much. Living for yourself doesn't mean ignoring others. It means much. Living for yourself doesn't mean ignoring others. It means including yourself in the kindness you give so freely. It means saying, I am not a machine, I am a person, and I deserve to feel alive in my own life. So today, choose something small that's just for you. Something that makes you smile on the inside. Because when you start doing you, you start becoming someone even you are proud to know. There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when something inside you shifts. You stop asking, do they approve? And start wondering, does this feel right for me? And that's when life begins to soften. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. Living for yourself doesn't mean pushing everyone away. It means finally including your needs in the picture. It means learning how to listen inward, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet knowing inside you. And when you do that, you begin to feel safe in your own presence. No more explaining that. You begin to feel safe in your own presence. No more explaining your every choice. No more twisting yourself into shapes just to make someone else stay. No more waking up with a sinking feeling because your life doesn't to make someone else stay. No more waking up with a sinking feeling because your life doesn't feel like your own. That's not peace. That's performance. And you don't have to keep performing. You were never meant to live a life that only looks good from the outside. You were meant to feel good inside your skin, in your mornings, in your evenings, in the little in-between moments where no one is watching, in your evenings, in the little in-between moments where no one is watching. That's where your real life lives. And when you start living for you, those moments begin to bloom. Slow walks feel sweeter. Your alone time becomes nourishing, not lonely. You stop rushing towards someone else's idea of success. Instead, you build your own version. Quietly, gently, authentically. You may lose some things along the way. Some relationships might fade. Some people might not understand. But what you gain is something deeper. A sense of trust with yourself. You begin to believe your own yes. You begin to stand behind your own number. You stop negotiating with your intuition. And that own number. You stop negotiating with your intuition. And that, more than anything, is freedom. There's something magnetic about someone who is living for them. Is freedom. There's something magnetic about someone who is living for themselves. They don't need to prove anything. They don't talk over others. They aren't afraid of silence. They radiate something softer. Clarity. Aren't afraid of silence. They radiate something softer. Clarity. Self-trust. Calm. You can feel it when they walk into a room. You can feel it in their smile. Calm. You can feel it when they walk into a room. You can feel it in their smile, how it reaches their eyes. You can hear it in their voice. It's not loud, but it's steady. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. And alignment doesn't shout. It whispers, I know who I am. And that's enough. So if you've been trying to fix yourself, maybe what you actually need is to come home to yourself, to stop chasing better, faster, more, and instead ask, what if I'm already enough? What if your worth was never meant to be earned? What if your life could be enough? What if your worth was never meant to be earned? What if your life could be built on gentle courage? The kind that says, I'm going to honor what feels true, even if no one claps for it. Because at the end of the day, applause fades. But peace stays. You don't need everyone to agree with your path. You just need to know you're walking it with honesty, with love, with intention. So keep going. Keep showing up for yourself. The more you live for you, the less you need from the outside. And somehow, that's when life starts giving more back. Not because you begged for it, but because you finally believed you were worthy of it. Maybe no one ever told you this before, but you don't have to earn the right to rest. You don't have to finish a long to-do list. You don't have to be productive, impressive, or inspiring. You are allowed to be enough. Right now, as you are, even with your doubts, even with your mess, even with that thing you haven't figured out yet. Sometimes we spend our lives waiting until we're more confident, waiting until we're better, waiting until we've done enough to deserve love, peace, or even just a moment of stillness. But what if that moment is now? What if worthiness isn't a reward, but something you already have, simply because you exist? You don't have to become someone else to be valuable. You don't have to achieve something big to be lovable. You don't have to explain your pain for it to matter. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be louder, smarter, prettier, calmer, braver, or more successful. You are not a project. You are a person. And that person, you, has walked through things no one else has seen. You've survived silent battles. You've grown quietly, day by day. You've kept showing up, even when it was hard. That matters. You don't have to prove anything today. You just have to breathe. To be kind to yourself. To remember that growth is not always loud. It's often invisible. Maybe today you stop criticizing your reflection.
accent.
Maybe you stop
Maybe you stop
apologizing for how you
apologizing
feel. Maybe you stop rushing through your life like it's a race you're afraid to lose. Maybe today, you give yourself permission to just be. You are not behind.
You are not behind.
You are not too
You are
late.
not too late.
You are not
You are not
missing
missing
anything.
anything.
You are living.
You are living.
You are learning.
You are learning.
You are still becoming. And that's beautiful. So here's a small reminder. You're not here to please everyone. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to grow into yourself, gently, fully, and freely. And you're doing that, whether you see it or not. Your quiet courage is enough. Your soft strength is enough. Your imperfect, honest, curious, trying self is enough. Not someday, not later, but today, just as you are.
So that's the end of the episode today. Thank you for listening. Day 12.